The Vancouver Canucks have just made Quinn Hughes the youngest captain in the NHL. Yes, even younger than Brady Tkachuk and Nick Suzuki. To talk about this news, let's bring in our director of scouting, Craig Budden. Craig, I'm going to guess that you like the move. Tell me why you're convinced that Quinn Hughes is ready to take the C in Vancouver.
Well, why don't we take away the guessing? Absolutely. I think it's terrific news for the Vancouver Canucks. And I think that Quinn Hughes absolutely has not only the on-ice demeanor, but the off-ice demeanor to be a terrific leader for the Vancouver Canucks. We know that he's an elite defenseman in the National Hockey League, a #1 clear cut. And his dedication to always improving, to always being a real significant contributor and under different challenges, that is Quinn Hughes. And he has advanced his game to a level where he is one of the very best defensemen in the National Hockey League. And when you look at a player who was drafted, that has grown up in the Vancouver Canucks organization, and is at an age where you're not just pushing him into this position because he is somebody that they drafted high or because he's elite, it's because he has a maturity. He has a maturity to his own personality. He's comfortable in his own skin. He's not going to be a person that's going to be rah, 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 banging his stick. He goes out and he plays the game with a real significant competitive opportunity to make a difference. And that's what he does. And he just plays. You look at players and you watch how Quinn Hughes approaches the game. You know, there's been challenges in Vancouver, as we well know, with the team, with changes in coaches. What hasn't changed is the approach that Quinn Hughes takes. And to me, that's leadership. Everybody can be a leader when things are going well. But when I watch Quinn Hughes, I watch him have a steadfast approach to his playing, to his personality, to his approach, regardless of what's swirling around him. And to me, that's what a leader and what embodies a real terrific captain in the National Hockey League. I have no doubt that Quinn Hughes will be exactly that.
Okay, but I got to ask you about the challenges. You mentioned it yourself. So it's Quinn Hughes, Brady Tkachuk, Nick Suzuki, the three youngest captains in the NHL, all captains of Canadian clubs that have something else in common, all teams that are going to be life and death to make the playoffs. Vancouver has only made the playoffs once in the last 8 years. They've missed the last 3 seasons. How do you protect, as an organization, through management or through coaching staff or through veterans around him, how do you protect him when more often than not, he's going to have to be talking about why they lost again?
That's no problem. You don't have to protect great leaders, Gino. You don't have to even protect young leaders that are mature enough to handle it. It's not on Quinn Hughes to put the team in a position to be competitive. He's not the one making maneuvers behind the bench. He's not the one in the management office trying to strengthen the team by adding players and trying to form a team that can be successful. And Quinn Hughes, again, I touched on the maturity of the person. The maturity of the person is understanding where they're at. He's not going to point fingers, but at the same time, he doesn't have to take responsibility for things that aren't his responsibility. Be accountable for the things as a spokesperson for the team, as the leader of the team. And that's what you're going to continuously remind Quinn Hughes of. You don't have to protect him. You just have to guide him and work with him through it. And again, I'm going to talk about the captaincy not as a lone designation. Leadership isn't just one person because you wear a letter. Leadership comes from multiple areas of the dressing room and multiple areas of the team. And Quinn Hughes will be able to lean into that, and there'll be other opportunities for other players to speak. He will not be the sole person speaking on behalf of the team. And to me, that's why you be patient in naming young players to these important positions in a market, as you point out, Gino, that is going to have a real spotlight on it after every game. And certainly when you're losing and you've had some disappointments, you know, that spotlight grows a little bit brighter. But Quinn is mature, and Quinn is ready for that. Again, of that, I have no doubt.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Could there be some planning ahead here by management in Montreal, Ottawa, and now in Vancouver, where you say, this is a young star. When we start looking down the road, when he goes RFA and then potentially looking to go UFA, if he's wearing RC, it's going to be harder for him to move on. Is this potentially, you're a general manager in this league, is this a great pre-negotiating technique in order to kind of keep the guy in the fold long term?
I think that negotiation is far off, Gino. A lot can happen in the years to come. To start to look at giving somebody a significant role as captain of your franchise, I don't think you can start to look ahead 3, 4, 5 years as a pre-negotiation tool. You're looking at Quinn Hughes. He signed a longer-term contract coming out of his entry-level deal. And so we know that he's committed to the Vancouver Canucks. But things can change dramatically in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years. What you're doing is looking what gives us the opportunity to have a person in a position where it's clearly defined who the captain is and who the leader and who will speak on more often than not, and then you move from there. I think the pre-negotiation part is something that if you start trying to look at that down the road, I think that you're getting away from what is the most important thing, and that's to establish leadership on your team right now so your team knows, everybody knows, and it allows everybody to move forward together.
Craig, you and I have been around this game for a very long time. You specifically in management, me just as a spectator watching from outside and covering the sport of hockey. We saw almost forever, for the early first 70 years of the NHL, 75 years, maybe 80 years of the NHL, where you looked around the room, you looked for the grizzled veteran, your leading scorer, the guy who had the biggest voice, and you put the C on him because everybody around him feared him in a positive way. And yet he was the guy who ran the show. And everybody else, the young kids in the room, remained quiet unless they were asked to speak. Now we're seeing this trend of going to younger guys and giving them the C. Where do you think this is coming from?
Wayne Gretzky was a pretty young captain. Dennis Potvin was a pretty young captain. I don't think this is something new, Gino. I don't think
But Craig, they were exceptions. Come on.
Exceptions? I mean, okay, Wayne Gretzky, okay, is an exception. Well, Connor McDavid is an exception. And Connor McDavid's been a leader his entire life, just like Wayne Gretzky is. Yeah. This isn't about age, Gino. This is about where you're at as a person, the maturity to handle things. That's how I look at it. I don't look at it any differently. There's been lots of young captains in the league over the years. The problem or the challenge over the years was there wasn't a lot of young players of this age in the league. So how are you going to name young players to be captains when they weren't even in the league at this age? We've seen the league go younger, but there's been examples. I'm talking about 4-time Stanley Cup champion Wayne Gretzky, 4-time Stanley Cup champion Dennis Potvin. These aren't just throwaway captains that were captains at a young age. These are captains that were significant to the success of their teams. And that's what it's about. And whether you're Bill Torrey or whether you're Glenn Sather, putting those players into positions of leadership, they knew they could handle it, and handle it they did.
We've come a long way where the young guys step into the league right now, not only perform for their club, but they're actually showing tremendous leadership as well. Quinn Hughes, the 15th captain in Vancouver Canucks franchise history, is our director of scouting, Craig Button.